I get it, you're staring at the price tag on the Zebra ZT411 and wondering if it's really worth pulling the plug on your old label maker. You've probably seen a few screenshots of that bright 4.3-inch touchscreen and thought, looks fancy, but will it survive the chaos of my warehouse floor? That hesitation is exactly why I'm breaking it down before you click buy. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the ZT411 isn't a hobby printer you'd stick on a desk for occasional barcodes. It's built for environments where labels are printed every few seconds. Think shipping docks, manufacturing lines, or a busy retail stockroom. The biggest question you need to answer is, do you actually need an industrial-grade thermal transfer printer, or could a desktop model do the job? If you're printing large batches of durable, weatherproof tags that have to survive oil, heat, or abrasion, the ZT411 is the kind of workhorse that won't quit on you. Let's walk through a typical day in a medium-sized distribution center that recently upgraded from a legacy ZT500. The team runs a shift from 6 a.m. to 2 a.m., handling about 2,000 parcels per hour. Every parcel gets a barcode label, a handling instruction tag, and sometimes a QR code for returns. The old printer would jam on the third roll of the day, causing a bottleneck that cost minutes of downtime. The ZT411, with its quick change media system, lets the operator slide a new roll in under 10 seconds without powering down. That alone translates to a measurable boost in throughput. No more frantic tape pulling while the line stops. Now, why does the ZT411 feel different from a typical office printer? First, the touchscreen. It's a full-color, 4.3-inch display that shows real-time status, media type, print head temperature, and even alerts for low ribbon. In a noisy facility, you can glance at the screen and instantly know if something's wrong, instead of listening for the usual beeping or hunting for error codes on a tiny monochrome panel. The interface is customizable, so you can set up shortcuts for the most common label formats, say, a 46-inch shipping label versus a 21-inch asset tag. That cuts the learning curve for new operators. You don't need a tech-savvy person to spend hours in the manual. Connectivity is another practical win. The ZT411 ships with serial, USB, Ethernet, and Bluetooth ports. In my experience, Ethernet is the go-to for a fixed workstation because it guarantees a stable link to the warehouse management system. Bluetooth can be handy for on-the-fly printing from a handheld device, like a tablet used for inventory checks. The serial port is a nod to legacy systems. If you still run an old PLC that talks RS-232, you won't need a converter. This range of options means you can fit the printer into almost any network architecture without buying extra adapters. What about the actual print quality? The ZT411 offers 203 dpi, which is the sweet spot for most barcodes and alphanumeric text. It isn't a high-resolution graphic printer, but the thermal transfer process ensures the ink is fused into the label material, making the output resistant to smudging, rubbing, and even exposure to chemicals. For a shipping label that's going to be handled, stacked, and possibly exposed to rain, that durability is worth the extra upfront cost compared to a direct thermal model that fades after a few weeks. Let's talk about who should walk away. If you're a small home office business printing occasional receipts or a boutique that only needs a few price tags a day, the ZT411 is overkill. The initial investment, both the printer itself and the consumables like ribbons and media, can be a hard hit on a tight budget. In those scenarios, a desktop thermal transfer or even a direct thermal printer would meet the need without the industrial chassis. Also, if you don't have a stable power source or are looking for a portable solution, the ZT411's size and reliance on a constant power line make it less suitable. On the flip side, if you run a 24/7 operation, need labels that survive harsh conditions, or must integrate with an existing Ethernet-based WMS, the ZT411 starts to make financial sense. The durability of the print, the speed of media changes, and the robust connectivity options all add up to less downtime and fewer frantic calls to tech support. The cost of a few minutes of line stoppage often outweighs the higher purchase price. Now for a few practical downsides I've observed. The first is the learning curve for the touchscreen menus. While they're intuitive once you get used to them, the initial setup can feel a bit daunting if you're accustomed to simple button presses. You'll want to spend some time configuring the label templates and network settings before you go live. The second point is ribbon waste. Because it's a thermal transfer printer, you need both a ribbon and a label roll. If your label designs don't use the full width of the ribbon, you can end up with an used ribbon at the end of a roll, which adds to consumable cost. Planning your label dimensions.